A blended family's dream vacation unravels when 16-year-old Sophia is found dead on a Hawaiian shoreline. What looks like a tragic accident hides a truth no one in the family was willing to see until Helena Monroe arrives. Where Love Makes Us Blind. A story by 10 Chapters Studio. Chapter 1. The Call. Helena Monroe knew the tone detectives used when they wanted something from her, hesitant but urgent, as if asking for a favor they hoped she wouldn't examine too closely. That tone pulled her from sleep at 5:42 a.m., long before winter light touched her windows. She answered on the second ring. Monroe. There was a pause. Through it, faint surf and wind-ocean noise, blurred by distance. Helena, it's Detective Kanoa, Maui PD. She sat upright, sleep shedding cleanly. They'd only met once, at a conference years earlier. He'd asked sharp questions, the kind she remembered. "What's going on?" she asked. Papers rustled. Someone spoke urgently behind him before he stepped away. "We've got a situation at Kahala Resort," he said. 16-year-old female tourist, found at sunrise on the rocks near the South Beach Trail. Deceased. Helena swung her feet to the floor. "Accident. Initially, yes," he said. "But the preliminary exam doesn't like that story. Tell me, she's got blunt force trauma that doesn't match a simple fall. Bruising on her wrists, defensive marks on her hands. The ocean didn't do all of it." Helena exhaled slowly. "And the family?" "Blended," Kanoa said. "She's the biological daughter. 2 stepbrothers from the new wife. All here on vacation. Ground floor lanai room opens straight onto the gardens. How many in that room? 3 kids together. Parents next door. They say she left dinner early, upset. Wanted space. The boys claim they came back later. She was in the bathroom and they went to bed. And then she turned up on the rocks." Helena rubbed the bridge of her nose. "Who found her?" "Groundskeeper doing early checks," he said. "If she wandered out alone, sure, she could slip. But our ME isn't buying that's the full picture." "Why call me?" she asked, though she already suspected. The silence answered first. Then he sighed. "Because the timelines don't match," he said. "And the family dynamics feel wrong. The father is clinging to tragic accident like it's a raft. The stepmother keeps steering things toward her older boy being misunderstood. The younger kid looks terrified. And the older one, Mark, he cut himself off. What about him?" "He's composed," Kanoa said. "Too composed. His version is clean, too smooth. He keeps calling the girl, Sophia, moody, jealous. Says he heard her yell from the bathroom, told his kid brother to back off, and that was the last he saw of her. It lines up almost too neatly." "Too clean," Helena murmured. "Exactly." Her laptop chimed from the desk. "That you?" "I sent the files. Resort layout, statements, preliminary ME notes. The family's in our interview lounge at the resort. They agreed to cooperate. A beat. Cooperate doesn't mean truthful." Helena opened her laptop. The resort map bloomed across the screen cream-colored buildings curved around a pool, garden paths leading toward dark rock at the southern edge. Ground floor lanai formed a strip close to the water. "Ground floor lanai access?" she asked. "So the kids' room opens straight onto a garden walkway." "Right. No cameras on that side privacy policy." Her fingers hovered above the trackpad. "Monroe," Kanoa said quietly. "I've got a dead girl, a family desperate for an accident narrative, and a layout that makes it easy for someone to move around unseen. I need eyes that see more than bruises and timestamps." She opened the next file, photos of the scene. Yellow tape across black rock, a tarp draped over a small form, pale hair matted with sand. Her throat tightened. "Send me the kids' statements," she said. "They're in there. Mark's first, then Michael, then the parents." She clicked on Mark's. His paragraphs were tidy, confident. Sophia went back early. We returned later. Bathroom light on. She yelled, "Get out!" We gave her space, a story arranged like furniture, each piece placed where it belonged. "What are you thinking?" Kanoa asked. Helena traced the map from the kids' lanai door to the rocky outcrop. A short, unmonitored walk in the dark. "I'm thinking," she said slowly, "that if someone wanted to hurt her and make it look like the island did it, this is a convenient place to try. Will you come?" he asked. Helena looked at the suitcase half unpacked from a previous case. She'd told herself she'd say no more often. Avoid old patterns. Stop chasing the moment she'd once been right too late. But a girl was dead. A story was already being rewritten. "I'll be on the next flight," she said. "Text me when you land," Kanoa replied. When the call ended, Helena studied the glowing rectangle marking the kids' room on the map. Ground floor, private, and dangerously exposed. She closed the laptop, finished packing, and headed for the door. Somewhere on a paradise island, a family was already choosing the version of events they could live with. Her job was to find the truth they weren't telling. End of chapter. Chapter 2. The Resort. Warm air wrapped around Helena as she stepped out of the airport, soft, humid, deceptively gentle. Maui had a way of looking peaceful even while holding secrets. Perfect for a family determined to believe their own version of the truth. Detective Kanoa was waiting by an unmarked sedan beneath a stand of palms, sunglasses hooked in his shirt collar. "Long flight," he said as she approached. "Could have been worse," she replied. Kahiala Resort appeared minutes later, rising in soft curves of cream-coloured buildings around a shimmering pool. It was the kind of place built to soothe. Manicured lawns, controlled breezes, even the lobby lighting seemed to exhale. Farther out, rows of ground-floor lanais faced a maze of garden paths leading toward the ocean. "That wing," Kanoa said, nodding right. "Kids' room is there, garden side. Their patio door leads toward the south path where she was found." They bypassed the main lobby, walking along a shaded garden walkway, fragrant with plumeria. Voices drifted from nearby patios' laughter, clinking glasses, the dull thrum of vacation life continuing without hesitation. "The family's in the interview room," Kanoa said. "But I want you to see the kids' space first." The path narrowed, hedges closing in. Yellow police tape flickered at a sliding patio door ahead, strung between the frame and a privacy wall. An officer nodded as they approached. Inside, the teens' room looked like a vacation interrupted mid-breath. 2 double beds, a roll-away cot forced into the center. Clothes half unpacked, a towel abandoned near the bathroom, sand dusting the tile by the door. Sunscreen and something sharp fear maybe hung faintly in the air. Helena stepped under the tape. Sophia's bed was the neatest. Covers straightened, the top sheet slightly skewed as if someone had sat there briefly. A pink charger on the nightstand. The boys' beds were messier, especially the rollaway blanket twisted, pillow shoved against the wall. But her attention went straight to the patio door. The curtains were half drawn. The track at the base showed faint scuff marks, barely visible unless you crouched and looked for them. She knelt, fingertips hovering above the metal. Scene-Tex found it closed and locked. Kanoa said quietly behind her. "Too many hands on it to get clean prints." Helena studied the scuff's slight, but recent. Sand clung to the corner of the track, trapped where a shoe or something heavier had disturbed it before the sprinkler spray. She stood and stepped outside. The narrow walkway curved along the building, shielded by hedges. Beyond them, she could see the line of dark rock where the beach path dipped toward the water. Private, dim at night. Perfect for going unseen. "Any cameras?" she asked. "Not facing patios," Kanoa said. "Resort privacy policy." Helena slid back inside, letting the curtain fall behind her. She turned toward the bathroom. The door stood slightly open. She pushed it gently. A compact room. Sink, toilet, shower. Clean. Almost too clean. But near the sink pedestal, the porcelain edge showed a small chip old or new, hard to tell without testing. The tile felt cooler where the air hadn't circulated. "Me thinks some injuries happened inside," Kanoa said. "Not all, but some." Helena didn't answer immediately. Instead, she breathed in slowly. A brief, quiet flicker moved under her ribs, not a vision, but a shape of panic, residue of someone cornered in a small space. She stepped out, looking again at the arrangement. 3 teenagers sleeping inches apart, a connecting door to the parents' room deadbolted from this side. "Parents said they didn't hear anything?" she asked. "Went to bed around 11, Kanoa said. "Ocean noise masks a lot, and denial masks more," Helena thought. She examined the nightstand beside the rollaway, a wristband from the entertainment show, a wrinkled event pamphlet. Nothing directly useful. But the absence of Sophia's belongings, no phone, no hair tie, no sandals, felt deliberate, as if someone had wanted the room to look as normal as possible. She stepped closer to the connecting door. The deadbolt was turned firmly inward, locked from the teen's side. "That's habit?" Helena asked. "Parents said they assumed the kids locked it for privacy, or someone locked it so no one would walk in," Helena murmured. Kanoa shifted beside her. "You think something happened here?" "I think something started here," Helena said. "And I think someone made sure the adults stayed asleep." She moved once more toward the patio door. In daylight, the path looked peaceful. At night, it would be shadowed, quiet, blind to witnesses. "Let's talk to the family," she said. Kanoa hesitated. "They're hanging on to their story, the father especially." "I'm not here to break him," Helena replied. "I'm here to listen." They stepped back outside into the bright garden. Helena glanced over her shoulder at the taped-off lanai, the curtains unmoving behind the glass. You could walk past it 100 times and believe nothing tragic had ever happened there. Almost. End of chapter. Chapter 3. The Versions They Can Live With. The resort's meeting room was trying too hard to be comforting soft chairs, dimmed lights, a sweating pitcher of water no one touched. But nothing softened the heaviness in the air. Families in crisis created their own gravity. Helena stepped inside and let the picture settle. John Sterling leaned forward on an armchair, elbows on his knees, fingers locked so tightly his knuckles were white. Sunburn mottled his face in uneven patches. He stared at the carpet as if afraid to look anywhere else. Beside him, Cynthia Reynolds Sterling perched on the edge of her chair, shoulders curled inward. A shredded tissue clung to her fingers. She tore it unconsciously, over and over. Across from them, the boys sat together on a love seat. Michael 14, slight, was folded into himself, sneakers lifted on their toes. Beside him, Mark lounged with manufactured ease, an arm slung across the back of the sofa. The pose said relaxed. His jaw said otherwise. Detective Kanoa remained near the door. "This is Helena Monroe," he said. "Behavioral analysis. John finally lifted his head. His eyes were raw. "We already gave our statements," he said. "We told you everything." "I understand," Helena said gently. Trauma distorts memory. Sometimes talking through events again helps us find what was missed. Cynthia's breath hitched. "We're not hiding anything. We just want to understand." Helena nodded and angled her chair, neither confrontational nor aligned with any one person. "Let's start with dinner." Cynthia took a shaky breath. "We ate at the buffet. It was loud. The boys didn't mind. But Sophia, she seemed overwhelmed. She said she wanted to go back to the room." "She walked back alone?" Helena asked. "We watched her take the garden path," John said. "It's close, well lit. We thought she'd be fine." "And the rest of you stayed for the evening show?" Helena asked. Mark spoke first. "Fire dancers, music, limbo thing for kids." He nudged Michael lightly. "He wanted to watch." Michael offered a tiny nod. "Was Sophia upset when she left?" Helena asked. Mark shrugged. "She's been jealous since the wedding. Didn't like me, didn't want a stepbrother. It's been tense." "Mark," Cynthia murmured, pained. He didn't look at her. "I'm not attacking her, just telling it. Language as a shield," Helena thought. Convenient labels flatten complicated truths. She turned to Michael. "What time did you two head back?" "After the fireworks," he said, "around 10:30. "Did you walk together?" Helena asked. Mark answered quickly. "Yeah, I was just ahead of him. A few steps." Michael swallowed. "He reached the door first. Tell me what happened then," Helena said softly. Mark leaned back, playing casual. "I opened the door a crack. Bathroom light was on, door half open. I heard her snap, 'Get out!' He lifted his hands. So I backed up and shut the door, gave her space. And so he jerked his chin at Michael. Didn't walk in on her." Michael nodded immediately. "When I got there, he'd just closed it. The light was still on. It made sense she was inside." "Did either of you hear water? Movement?" Helena asked. Michael shook his head. "No, but if she'd yelled, I figured she just needed to cool off." "Did you knock?" Mark gave a soft, humorless huff. "Right. Knock and make it worse?" She clearly didn't want us bothering her. Helena watched the dynamic settle like dust. Michael shrinking. Mark shaping the narrative. "And after that," she asked, "you went to bed?" "Yeah," Mark said. "It was late." Michael's fingers clenched between his knees. Helena's voice softened. "Before this trip, did Sophia ever mention struggling with the new routines, having the boys around?" John hesitated. His jaw flexed once, like he was chewing on a truth he didn't want to speak aloud. "She said the house felt different," he murmured. "Busier. She didn't always like having the boys there, Mark in particular, since he came and went." He rubbed his palms together. "I've heard it's normal. Adjustment stuff. Teenager things." I told her Cynthia and the boys were trying their best. Across from him, Cynthia's mouth tightened briefly. The tissue stilled between her fingers. Her face crumpled. "Mark has struggled since my divorce. He's fragile." I kept thinking, if we could just get one good trip, maybe things would start to settle. "Did Sophia ever say she felt unsafe?" Helena asked. John's eyes closed. "She said I wasn't seeing what she saw." Denial was a powerful filter. Helena let silence open for a moment, letting truth breathe. "Did either of you reach out to her that night by phone?" Helena asked the boys. "No," Michael whispered. Mark shrugged. "Her boyfriend was texting nonstop anyway. She didn't want to hear from us." A knock broke the air. An officer stepped in, holding a clear evidence bag. "Detective," he said, glancing briefly at Helena. We pulled the last data from the girl's phone. Inside the bag, Sophia's phone lay dark. "There's a voice message," he said. Time-stamped 10:33 p.m., sent to her boyfriend. He says it's the last thing she ever sent. Mark didn't move, not visibly, but a small twitch pulsed under his left eye, quick, involuntary. Helena saw it, and she saw Michael stiffen, Cynthia freeze mid-breath, and John's hands curl inward as if bracing for impact. "Let's hear it," she said. End of chapter. Chapter 4. The last thing she said. The officer handed Kanoa a tablet. "Got the audio file pulled?" he said quietly. "You'll want to hear it before we bring them back in." Helena nodded. "Let's step out." They left the family in the meeting room. Cynthia hunched over a tissue, John staring through his hands, Michael folded small, and Mark wearing the same unsettling calm that had bothered Helena from the start. The door clicked shut, muting the feverish quiet inside. Down the garden walkway, they stopped at a shaded alcove overlooking a koi pond. The water feature murmured softly, natural cover noise. "Play it," Helena said. Kanoa tapped the screen. A wash of wind came first, the signature sound of the garden path outside the teens' lanai. Then Sophia's voice, low and tight. "Tyler, are you awake?" A rustle, a pause. More rustling, like she kept glancing over her shoulder. He's being weird again. I told Dad, but..." Her voice thinned. "Please pick up. Call me when you hear this. I'm almost..." A faint beep, a soft thud, someone opening a door or trying a lock. Then, quiet but terrified, "He keeps following me." A shaky breath. I don't want to be alone. He's so intense." Helena's pulse stilled. Another faint sound, footsteps, leaves disturbed? Hard to tell. "I think someone's around," Sophia whispered. "I heard something near the door. Maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know." Static crackled. A sharper shift. "Just call me back, okay? Please." A quick inhale, surprise. Not quite fear, not quite pain. Then the message ended. Silence settled over the alcove. Helena let out a slow breath. She was scared. "Yeah," Kanoa said. "But scared of what? Who?" Kanoa said, though the question lacked conviction now. His eyes had narrowed, the neutrality gone. She wasn't talking about a stranger. Helena nodded once, slowly. "No. She meant someone familiar, someone close enough for her to try warning her father about." Kanoa exhaled through his nose, the sound sharp. "Mark!" "Mark," Helena agreed quietly. But at this point it's instinct, not proof. He looked down at the tablet again, jaw working. "We can't confront him with this. Not yet." "We won't," Helena said. "We need to control the flow. Every question, every reaction." She tapped a thoughtful finger against her wrist. "He's giving rehearsed answers. That only works until the edges fray. And Michael? He's close to cracking," Helena said. "He's scared and he's confused. Push too hard, he collapses. Push gently. He gives us the truth." Kanoa nodded grimly. Helena looked past him toward the lanai walkway, where the hedges bowed slightly in the wind. Sophia was terrified enough to reach for someone. She tried to tell her father, and he couldn't hear it. "Think he'll see it now?" Kanoa asked. "Not yet," Helena murmured. "Grief distorts before it clarifies." They started walking back toward the meeting room. Before Helena reached the door, she paused, hand resting lightly on the knob. "That voicemail," she said quietly, "tells us one thing clearly." "What's that?" Kanoa asked. She wasn't afraid of the dark, Helena answered. She was afraid of someone she knew. Kanoa let out a long breath. And right now, there's only one person that fits. Yes, Helena said. But until we have evidence, we treat him like any other witness. Even though he's not, Kanoa muttered. Helena lifted her gaze toward the taped-off lanai. The truth is, in the room and the path. He didn't cover as much as he thinks he did. They stepped back inside the meeting room. 4 faces lifted their emotional states unchanged, but the air shifted. Helena could almost feel Mark tracking every movement she made. She sat, composed, almost gentle. "Thank you for waiting," she said. "We'd like to clarify a few more details." Mark's jaw flickered, a sign he hadn't expected more questions. John leaned forward, voice trembling. "Did you find something?" Kanoa answered smoothly. "We're still gathering context." Helena continued watching Mark. "When you reached the room last night," she said, "what made you open the door first, rather than wait for Michael?" A tiny grid of emotion slipped across Mark's face. Uncertainty, annoyance, calculation. But he smoothed it quickly. "I was ahead of him," he said. "Just opened it out of habit." Helena nodded, as if satisfied. But she filed it. "And the bathroom door?" she said softly. "You said it was half open." Mark nodded again. "You're certain?" A fractional pause. "Yeah, that's interesting," Helena murmured. "Because when someone wants privacy, they usually close the door fully." Michael's head lifted slightly, just enough to register the incongruity. Cynthia tensed. John's hands curled. Mark met Helena's gaze for a beat too long. A hairline crack. Just enough. "Detective," Helena said, rising smoothly. "We'll step outside for a moment." Kanoa stood. "We'll be right back." As they left, Helena felt Mark's eyes on her, calculating, measuring, adjusting his story 1 inch at a time. Outside, the garden path stretched into shadow. The same path Sophia had walked while recording her last message. The path where fear began. And somewhere along that walkway, Helena knew, the first real piece of the truth was waiting. End of chapter. Chapter 5. The Path Behind the Lanai. The garden path looked harmless in daylight sun on glossy hedges, soft wind combing through hibiscus. But fear doesn't obey daylight, and Helena had learned long ago that terror leaves an imprint, sometimes physical, sometimes something else. Kanoa walked a few steps ahead, pushing a low branch aside. "Groundskeepers found her here," he said, gesturing toward the black rock slope where the south trail curved down toward the water. "If she fell, or was pushed, this is the spot." Helena crouched near the beginning of the walkway leading from the teens' lanai. The sliding door to their room was visible from here, only a short walk away. "Did the resort confirm when the garden lights dim?" 11 p.m., Kanoa said, for turtle nesting regulations, so the path would have been dark, almost invisible. Helena walked slowly, eyes scanning. "What have you pulled so far from the kids' lanai?" "Prints," Kanoa said. "Normal for a shared room. Nothing jumps." "Because he cleaned," Helena murmured. Kanoa sighed. "You think he had that much presence of mind?" "Panic and habit make strange partners," Helena said. "Especially in someone practiced at improvising." She stopped. A single rock on the path had a faint smear on it, barely visible unless you were looking for it. Kanoa crouched beside her as she used a gloved finger to nudge a leaf away. "Blood?" he asked. Not sure, Helena said. Could be plant sap. Could be nothing. But something in her chest tightened. She stood, letting the instinct settle without naming it. Let's split, she said. You check the tide pools and lower rocks. I want to walk the full length of the Lane path again. Kanoa nodded and headed down the slope. Helena retraced her steps until she was standing just outside the teens' sliding door. The curtains were partly drawn. Inside, she could see the edges of 3 beds, rumpled from the morning search. A place built for sleep and safety. A place where neither had existed. She walked the path slowly, listening to the echo of Sophia's recorded fear. He keeps following me. I don't want to be alone. He's so intense. The words created a rhythm against the rustling foliage. Halfway down, Helena paused again. A footprint pressed into the softer earth near the hedge. A man's size, bigger than Sophia's. Edges slightly blurred, not enough to lift or match. But the shape told a story. Someone had stood here. Facing the lanai, Helena stayed very still. A shiver of alignment, the feeling of something sliding into place beneath the surface. Footsteps approached behind her. Kanoa returned up the path, brushing dirt from his hands. No drag marks, he said. If she was moved, it wasn't far. Probably carried. Or guided, Helena murmured. He frowned. Guided? If she was scared of the wrong thing, Helena said. If she trusted the wrong person. Kanoa's jaw tightened. We need to talk to the boyfriend. Helena nodded. Now. They stepped away from the path and moved toward the resort's main walkway. Inside the security office, Helena sat in front of a resort phone and dialed the number in the report. It rang once, twice. Then a boy's voice, soft, cracked, answered. Hello? Tyler? This is Helena Monroe. I'm assisting the Maui Police Department. I'm very sorry for your loss. A quiet, fragile breath. I don't know what to do, he said. I keep listening to that message. I should have picked up. I should have... Tyler, Helena said gently. You're not in trouble, but I need your help. When Sophia called you, had she said anything earlier? In the past weeks? Months? Anything about feeling uneasy? Silence stretched. Then, yes. Helena's spine went still. She didn't want to make it a big thing, Tyler whispered. She didn't want to upset her dad, but she said her stepbrother made her uncomfortable. Mark. Helena closed her eyes briefly. What kind of uncomfortable? She asked softly. She said he watched her, Tyler said. Like, stared, followed her around the house. And he'd get weird if she tried to shut her door. Helena glanced at Kanoa, whose face darkened by degrees. Why didn't she tell her father directly? Helena asked carefully. She did, Tyler said. He told her she was exaggerating. He said Mark was going through things. That blended families take time. Helena felt the weight of those words. Blind spots are powerful. Tyler, she said. Did Sophia ever tell you Mark tried anything? Said anything? Silence again. Then one word. Yes. Helena's hand tightened around the phone. What did he do? She asked, voice steady. Tyler swallowed audibly. She didn't want to talk about it. She just said she got away from him once, and that it scared her more than anything. Kanoa closed his eyes. It wasn't proof, but it was a direction. Tyler? Helena said softly. Thank you. You helped more than you know. When she hung up, she stood in the stillness of the security office. They'll deny it, Kanoa said. Yes, Helena replied. But now we know where to look. And now, she said quietly, we find what he missed. End of chapter. Chapter 6. What the Room Remembers. The teens' lanai room smelled faintly of sunscreen and damp towels, the soft scent of vacation. Underneath it, Helena felt something else. The silence was too shaped, too careful. Kanoa closed the door behind them. Parents signed off on the search. Still no lawyer. They're hoping this goes away if they cooperate, Helena said. That never lasts. She stood for a moment and let the room settle in her mind. 3 beds. Michael's. Tidy. Pillow indented. Blanket folded back like someone who made their bed out of habit. Sophia's. Half smoothed, as if she'd meant to straighten it and got interrupted. Marks. Too neat. Corners pulled tight. Blanket flat. Pillow punched once into place. Photograph it, Helena said. Kanoa began moving methodically, camera shutter clicking in the quiet. Helena crouched beside Sophia's bed. The nightstand was bare. For a 16-year-old girl on vacation, the absence was loud. She doesn't exist in this room, Helena murmured. Kanoa glanced over. Parents said this is how they found it. Either she was unnaturally tidy, Helena said, or someone tried to erase her from the space. On the floor, half under the bed, she spotted a single flip-flop. Its mate was aligned neatly by the sliding door. This one was skewed, turned sharply as if dragged or kicked. She eased it out with 2 fingers. This doesn't match the rest, she said. Everything else is either deliberate or cleared. This looks like interruption. Kanoa nodded. 1 shoe in place, 1 out of place. People rarely undress symmetrically in a panic, Helena said. She crossed to the bathroom. The light was bright and neutral, the surfaces scrubbed. But staged rooms miss the small things. A hand towel hung on the rack, slightly twisted, still faintly damp. Not from a shower. The sink was dry. Someone had grabbed it, pressed into it. The shower curtain rings were evenly spaced, except for one pulled tighter than the others, as if someone had yanked for balance or leverage. Something happened in here, Kanoa said quietly. Something started, Helena corrected. We don't know yet where it ended. They stepped back into the bedroom. Helena opened the closet. Inside, a few shirts, a pair of board shorts, a grey hoodie. The hoodie was Mark's size. She pulled on gloves and checked the pockets. Her fingers brushed plastic. She drew out a key card. She held it up. Did the resort list how many cards they issued? 2 to the parents, 1 for the kids' room, Kanoa said. That's what they reported. Then this, Helena said, was made extra. Teen convenience, Kanoa suggested, or sneaking out. Or private access, Helena replied. But we can't assume whose yet. A knock sounded on the lanai glass. A uniformed officer stood outside, careful not to cross the threshold. Detective, he said. Security just called. Someone turned in an item they found near the South Trail earlier this morning. Might be connected. Helena straightened. Location? Security office? It's logged. Let's go, Kanoa said. They left the room and followed the officer along the garden walk. Resort life moved around them, kids chasing each other with inflatable rings, staff setting out trays of fruit. Normalcy, indifferent to catastrophe. The security office was cool and humming with monitors and radio chatter. A staff member stepped forward, holding an evidence bag in gloved hands. A guest brought this in just after 7, she said. Found it near the ginger plants at the top of the South Trail. They thought someone had dropped it, picked it up, then came back when they heard about the girl. She passed the bag to Helena. Inside lay a delicate gold bracelet with a small half-heart charm. Slightly bent at the charm loop, like it had snagged and pulled. Helena studied the charm through the plastic. She recognized the design from Sophia's belongings file, a gift from her boyfriend, something the family said she almost never took off. "This looks like Sophia's," Helena said. Kanoa studied it. "Could have fallen off any time." "Yes," Helena said. "But the guest found it at dawn, on the route between the Lanai and the rocks, the same night she died. That doesn't prove a struggle. It just proves she or her body passed that way." Kanoa leaned against the counter. "You still want the father next?" "Yes," Helena said. "He's the hinge. If he keeps clinging to accident, Mark hides behind that story. If John starts to doubt, Mark loses cover." "You think the system will come after him?" Kanoa asked. "For not listening to her?" "Maybe not here," Helena said. "But back home? Child protection? Civil liability? Those systems don't care if you meant well. They care whether you ignored risk." Kanoa exhaled slowly. "He's already punishing himself. He should be sad," Helena said. "Not destroyed. If we crush him now, he stops being useful as a witness." "And Mark?" Kanoa asked. "We keep him exactly where he is," Helena said. "Uncomfortable. Observed. Not yet cornered." End of chapter. Chapter 7. The Father Begins to Break. They found John in a small interview lounge overlooking the koi pond. He sat stiffly in a wicker chair, elbows on his knees, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. Cynthia sat beside him, one hand on his arm, calm but coiled, as if watching for incoming threats. Michael sat in the corner, drawn into himself. Mark stood by the window, arms folded, gaze steady and unreadable. Helena stepped inside with Kanoa. "John," she said softly. "Can we speak with you for a moment?" Cynthia tensed. "We're staying together." Helena met her eyes. "For now, yes. But our questions will be directed at John." Cynthia's hand tightened on John's arm. Michael's head barely lifted. Mark didn't move at all. Helena took the seat across from John. Kanoa remained standing, a quiet presence behind her. "Earlier," Helena began, "you mentioned Sophia sometimes struggled with the changes at home, the blended routines. Mark staying over?" John swallowed hard. "She was adjusting. Teenagers. They feel things intensely." Helena nodded gently. "And you said she came back early from dinner. She told you she wanted space." "Yes," John said quickly. "She wasn't upset at anyone, just overwhelmed." Michael shifted in his chair. Cynthia shot him a look-sharp warning. Helena stayed focused on John. "We listened to a voicemail Sophia recorded last night." John's breath hitched. Cynthia stiffened. Mark's jaw flexed once. "We're not playing it for you yet," Helena added calmly. "But I want you to understand what it tells us." John's eyes glistened. "She called her boyfriend," he whispered. "Did she? Was she scared?" Helena didn't answer right away. "She sounded uneasy," Helena said. "She said someone was being weird again. She said she didn't want to be alone." Cynthia's grip on his arm tightened like a vice. John shook his head slowly. No, she didn't mean Mark. She couldn't have meant—" "We didn't say a name," Helena said softly. John froze. Silence thickened. Michael sat very still, breathing shallowly. Cynthia's voice cut in, sharp. Sophia was sensitive. She misread things. She always misread Mark. Mark's eyes flicked toward her, then away. Helena didn't look at Cynthia. She kept her voice level, almost soothing. Did Sophia ever tell you directly that someone in the house made her uncomfortable? John pressed a trembling hand to his forehead. She said things felt off, that sometimes Mark didn't respect boundaries. His voice cracked. I told her she was overreacting. I told her he was adjusting. Cynthia's voice rose. He is adjusting. Michael flinched. Helena spoke softly. When Sophia told you these things, what did you do? John closed his eyes. I told her to give him time. Did you check on her last night? Helena asked. He looked at her, and for the first time, the truth surfaced in his face. No, he whispered. Something in him collapsed, not physically, but inward, deep. Cynthia leaned toward him, desperate. John, you didn't know. I should have, he said, voice breaking. She came to me. She asked for help, and I told her she was imagining it. Helena let the silence breathe just long enough. This doesn't make you responsible for her death, she said quietly, but it means you didn't have the whole picture. John's shoulders shook once. Is that why she walked back alone? Because she thought I wouldn't listen again? That's not a question you can answer right now, Helena said gently. What you can do is help us understand the truth of last night. Cynthia snapped. Mark came back with Michael. They both said she was in the bathroom. That's the truth. Helena turned toward Mark for the first time. Mark, when you entered the room, the bathroom door, how open was it? Half open, Mark said, too quickly. Same as when she was in there. Michael's head jerked up small, quick as if startled by the certainty in Mark's voice. Helena noticed. So you're sure, Helena said. You didn't touch the door at all. Mark hesitated, a hairline crack. I pushed it a little, he said. Only to check if she was okay. Michael's eyes widened. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Cynthia's gaze snapped between her sons. John watched them, something dawning, slow and terrible. Helena softened her voice. Mark, did you hear anything before you entered? Anything at all? No, he said, defensive now. It was quiet. Michael inhaled sharply. Helena looked at him. Michael? Is that what you heard? Michael froze. His fingers curled into the fabric of his shorts. Cynthia barked, Michael doesn't need to talk. Helena held her ground, calm and steady. He's not in trouble. He's helping his sister. Michael trembled. Mark stared at him, unblinking. And John was beginning to see a truth he'd refused for far too long. Michael, Helena repeated gently. He swallowed hard. I don't know, he whispered. I don't know what's true anymore. A fracture ran through the room. Thank you, Helena said. That's enough for now. She rose. Kanoa followed. Behind them, John's quiet sob carried into the garden walkway raw and cracking. The sound of a father realizing the story he clung to might not survive the day. End of chapter. Chapter 8. The First Fracture. The air outside the interview lounge felt too bright for what was happening inside. Voices from the pool carried faintly across the garden, laughter, splashing, the clink of glasses. Vacation sounds, layered over a family coming apart. He's starting to see it, Kanoa said. He needs that, Helena said. But we can't let him be the only one who cracks. So what's next? He asked. We retrace, Helena said. Start where the bracelet surfaced. She'd barely finished the sentence when a uniformed officer approached, hesitant. Detective, the younger boy Michael asked if he could speak with you. Alone, if that's okay. Helena straightened. Where is he? Side room off the hall, the officer said. He looks pretty shaken. Kanoa gave Helena a nod. You go. I'll deal with the mother if she pushes back. Helena followed the officer down the corridor. The small interview room held a single table and 2 chairs. Michael sat on one, perched at the edge, like he might run or crumble, depending on which way the floor tilted. He looked up when she entered. His eyes were red, jaw tight with effort. Hi, Michael, she said gently. I heard you wanted to talk to me. He nodded, swallowing hard. I don't know if I'm allowed. You're allowed to tell me what you remember, Helena said. That's all this is. Michael stared down at his hands for a long moment. There's something wrong with what Mark said, he whispered at last. Helena didn't react, didn't press. Okay, she said softly. Start from what you noticed. Just you. No one else's version, he swallowed. When we came back from the show, he walked faster. I thought he just wanted to get to the room first. But when he got there, he slipped in and shut the door right in front of me. It was weird. How long were you outside? Helena asked. Just a few seconds, Michael said. I heard movement, like someone fixing something. Then he opened the door wider and said, She's in the bathroom, don't bug her. Did you hear Sophia? Helena asked. Any voice? Any sound? He shook his head. No, the door was closed. It was just the feeling inside the room, like when people stop arguing right before someone walks in. That kind of stillness. Too quiet. Michael's voice trembled. And Mark's bed. When I finally got inside, it was made, like really made. Tight corners, blankets smoothed out. He never does that. Not at home, not here. It looked like he didn't want anyone to see anything had been on it. Helena let that settle. Did you knock or call out to her then? She asked. Not then, he said. I thought she was mad and didn't want to talk. But later. He bit his lip. Later I woke up. I had to pee. What time? Helena asked. I don't know. Middle of the night. He breathed shakily. The room was dark. I went to the bathroom door and knocked. Soft at first. No answer. Then louder. Still nothing. No water running. Just quiet. He swallowed. But the light was on underneath the door. So I figured she was in there. Or maybe trying to calm down. I didn't want to bother her. I thought it was better to leave her alone. What did you do? Helena asked. I was just standing outside the door, Michael said quietly, considering knocking again, but it didn't feel right. Then suddenly Mark sat up and snapped at me. Helena stayed still. What did he say? He told me to use the one in the hall, Michael whispered. Don't bother her, he said. He sounded angry, like I was doing something wrong just for knocking. Was Mark already awake? Helena asked. Michael nodded. Yeah, like he couldn't sleep or something. Did you go to the hall bathroom? Helena asked. Yeah, he said. Then when I came back, Mark was annoyed I took so long. Helena studied him. Is there anything else from last night that felt wrong? He hesitated. Then, in a rush, no. But when John hugged him this morning, Mark's acted weird again. Everyone was crying, but he just stiffened, like he didn't know what expression he was supposed to make. "Thank you," Helena said quietly. "You're doing the hardest thing right now, telling the truth when it hurts everyone. What happens if Mom finds out I said this?" Michael asked, voice cracking. "She'll say I turned on my own brother. She might be upset," Helena said. "Sometimes people get angry at the truth before they're ready to hear it. That doesn't make it wrong." The door opened sharply. Cynthia stood there, eyes bright, chin lifted. "This is over," she said. "You don't talk to my son alone. He's a minor. I want a lawyer before anyone asks him anything else." Kanoa appeared just behind her, tension in his shoulders. "Mom, he asked to speak with Ms. Monroe. He doesn't know what he's saying right now," Cynthia snapped. "He's traumatized. You can't just pull children aside and twist their words." Helena remained seated, calm. "No one is twisting anything," she said. "Michael is allowed to tell us what he remembers." Cynthia's hand clamped down on her son's shoulder. "Come on," she said sharply. "You don't have to talk to them." Michael stood, gaze flicking once toward Helena. "It's okay," Helena said quietly. Cynthia steered him out of the room, still protesting. When they were gone, Kanoa closed the door with a slow exhale. "Well," he said, "that'll complicate things." "It always does," Helena replied. End of chapter. Chapter 9. The Edge of the Lie. The trade winds had shifted by the time Helena and Kanoa returned along the garden path. "We're close," Kanoa murmured. Helena didn't respond. She felt it, the tightening shape of a story that no longer fit inside its own edges. They entered the interview lounge quietly. John stood by the window, palms pressed flat against the glass, as if the ocean could steady him. Cynthia hovered near Michael, one hand on his back like a shield. Mark sat slightly apart, hunched forward, elbows on his knees. He looked up when Helena walked in. His expression flickered, fear first, then calculation, then a flatness that revealed nothing. Helena took a seat across from him. Her movements were calm, unthreatening. That alone made Mark tense. Kanoa remained standing behind her. "Mark," he said evenly, "we need to walk through the evening again." Mark's gaze sharpened. "I already did. We just want to clarify a few things," Helena said. Her voice was soft, nearly sympathetic. It caught Mark off guard. She set the bracelet evidence bag on the table. Cynthia sucked in a breath. "Where did that come from?" "Lost and found," Helena said. "A guest turned it in after finding it on the garden path early this morning." John turned from the window. His face went grey. "That's her bracelet. She never took it off." Mark's eyelids fluttered, just once, but Helena saw it. "This was found closer to the room than the rocks," she said. "And the clasp is bent. This didn't fall off on its own." "Which means whatever happened started earlier than the fall." Mark's shoulders rose and fell in a stiff, shallow breath. "That doesn't prove anything," he said. "People lose stuff all the time. It proves," Helena said gently, "that she didn't walk down that trail alone in the dark." Silence pulled tight across the room. John's mouth parted. "What are you saying?" "That Sophia was frightened," Helena said. "She said someone was following her." Cynthia's head jerked up. "No, she didn't. She never—" "She left a voicemail," Helena said, "minutes before she died." Michael pressed closer to his mother, eyes wide. Mark's knuckles whitened where his hands linked together. "Mark," Helena said softly, "when you and Michael came back from the show, why did you go into the room first?" He shrugged, too quickly. I walk faster. And why did you close the door behind you when your brother was steps behind you? Helena asked. Mark blinked, defensive. I didn't. Michael heard movement inside the room before you opened it fully. Helena continued. Something being shifted? That's not, he probably misheard. Your bed was made, Helena said quietly. Mark froze. You don't make your bed at home, Helena said. You didn't make it the morning before. But last night, the blanket was pulled tight, corners tucked. As if you didn't want anyone to see what had been on it, Cynthia pressed a shaking hand to her forehead. This is absurd. He's a teenager. He doesn't think about blankets. Mom, Michael whispered, barely audible. It's true. Mark shot him a warning look so sharp it made Michael recoil. And when Michael got up in the middle of the night, Helena added, you were already awake. Mark's voice cracked. Couldn't sleep? What does that matter? You stopped him from opening the bathroom door, Helena said. Why? Because she was upset, Mark snapped. She didn't want to be bothered. Or because she wasn't there, Helena said softly. Mark's breath stuttered. John turned fully toward him, face hollow. Mark, where was she? Mark's throat worked. He looked at the floor, then at the ceiling, as if searching for a version of the truth he could live with. His voice came out thin, strangled. I tried to talk to her, he said. She freaked out. It wasn't... She wouldn't listen. Mark, Helena said gently. Where was she? His breath hitched. The room held still. Then, she fell, Mark whispered. Cynthia gasped. Mark, no, stop. He lifted shaking hands to his eyes. I didn't mean for anything to happen. She was leaving the room. I grabbed her arm. She pulled away and she slipped, I swear. John staggered back as if struck. I panicked, Mark said. I didn't know what to do. The truth, but not all of it, hung trembling in the space between them. Behind Helena, Kanoa murmured, We need to pause this. But Helena stayed still, eyes on Mark. The lie had cracked open. What came next would shatter it completely. End of chapter. Chapter 10. The Breaking Point. Mark's jaw flexed once, anger, fear, something darker trying to find shape. Then he tipped forward, voice barely above a whisper. You're all acting like she hated me, he said. But she didn't. Not the whole time. Helena stayed still. Mark's eyes flicked upward, wet, wide, pleading with someone who wasn't in the room. Sometimes she was nice, he said. Too nice. She'd laugh with me, or sit close on the couch, or ask about my music. She didn't do that with anyone else. Mark, Helena said softly. Being polite isn't flirting. He flinched, like she'd struck him. You weren't there, he snapped. You don't know how confusing she was. 1 second she'd look at me like I was disgusting, and the next she'd smile, like she didn't mind. Helena didn't move. What happened last night? Mark swallowed. When we got back from the show, she looked at me weird again, like she wanted to say something. She just kept sending me mixed messages, so I told her we weren't real siblings. Not by blood. I told her it didn't have to be weird. She could stop pretending she didn't feel anything. Michael's breath hitched sharply behind Helena, but she didn't turn. Mark's voice thinned. She walked away from me, fast, like I offended her, so He stopped, chest rising and falling too quickly. She didn't even give me a chance to explain. I grabbed her arm, just to get her to stop. Just to talk. And then? Helena asked. Mark stared at his hands. She pulled away hard. I lost my balance. We fell onto the bed, Michael whispered. That's why it was messed up. Mark nodded, trembling. She freaked out, started yelling at me. Don't touch me. Stay away from me. But she's said things like that before and didn't mean it. He swallowed. I thought she was overreacting. He squeezed his eyes shut. I tried to calm her down. I swear I didn't mean to hurt her. I just put my hand over her mouth so she'd stop screaming. She kept fighting, and I pushed too hard, and she hit her head on the nightstand. The room went still. Mark's next breath was ragged. She stopped yelling. She just stared at me, and I panicked. I didn't know how bad it was. She said she needed air, so I told her to go outside, get some space. I thought she'd calm down. Michael shook his head, pale. She didn't walk out. Mark kept talking, as if he hadn't heard. She stumbled toward the sliding door. I think she was trying to get help. I followed her, just to explain. I wasn't going to let her tell John something twisted. I couldn't let her ruin everything. Helena's voice was soft. And on the path, Mark stared at the floor. She fell. She hit a rock and then she didn't move. His breath shook. I checked if she was breathing, but I panicked. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know what to do. He swallowed hard, eyes glassy. I dragged her father down. I thought if people saw her there, they'd think she slipped. It happens, right? People trip all the time. I wasn't trying to trick anyone, his voice cracked. I didn't mean for her to die. I swear I didn't. I just wanted it to not look like what it was. Helena didn't speak. Behind her, a sound broke the air, not a word. A collapse. John staggered backward, like he'd been struck. One hand covered his mouth. The other gripped the wall for balance. No, he whispered. No, Mark. She wasn't flirting with you. Mark blinked, confused. John, you don't know. I do know. John's voice cracked sharply. She tried to tell me. She tried. She said she didn't like being alone with you. She said you watched her. She was scared. Mark shook his head. She sent mixed signals. She wasn't sending anything. John choked out. She was trying to get away from you. He pressed both hands to his face. God. I dismissed her. I told her she was overreacting. I told her blended families take time. I told her to give you a chance. He looked at Mark, eyes full of grief and disbelief. I didn't protect her, he whispered. I didn't even listen. Mark's voice rose, desperate now. You don't understand. Stop! John's voice broke through the room, raw and shaking. You didn't misunderstand her, Mark. You ignored her, just like I did. Only you. His voice faltered. You didn't stop. Michael reached for John's sleeve, terrified, but John didn't seem to feel it. Helena stepped slightly toward him. John, she said softly. Sophia set boundaries, clear ones. She needed you to see them. A tear slid down his cheek. I should have seen everything, he whispered. I should have believed her. And in that moment, something in the room shifted, an emotional fracture cleaving straight down the center of the family. Mark looked from John to Helena, realization dawning in slow, sickening horror. His story wasn't going to save him. No one believed it anymore. Kanoa stepped forward. Mark Caldwell, you're under arrest. Mark didn't resist. His hands rose slowly, almost relieved, as if the weight of the night had finally crushed him. As the cuffs clicked closed, his eyes darted toward Helena, searching for a version of the story where she might have understood him. She didn't. Michael folded into the nearest chair, shaking. John closed his eyes, face collapsing. Cynthia whispered Mark's name, but it came out hollow. Helena stood very still. Cases like this never felt like victories, just truths dragged into the light, and a family forced to reckon with all the things they refused to see. End of chapter and end of book. Like and subscribe to support our channel and to listen to more intriguing investigative stories.